On this special edition of Your Tiger Ticket, the Tigers honor Hall of Famers Trammell and Morris with enshrinement in Comerica Park. We look at the career of broadcaster Bob Costas, who becomes a Hall of Famer himself. The Tigers go shopping internationally to bolster their growing farm system. And we take another look at historic Cooperstown, where the sport of baseball is king. All that and more coming up on this edition of Your Tiger Ticket. Hi everybody, and welcome to Your Tiger Ticket. I'm Jim Berk. The iconic New York Yankees have retired the numbers of 22 players who have worn the famous pinstripes in the Bronx. And though the Tigers don't have that total, they have added 2 new numbers to the outfield wall after ceremonies this summer. Numbers of the newest of Hall of Famers, Alan Trammell and Jack Morris. Morris was first to have his number retired in August. Jack won 198 of his 254 big league games in a Tigers uniform. He ranks second in Detroit history in games started, third in strikeouts, and fifth in victories. Jack was a true workhorse, compiling 175 complete games, most of any pitcher whose career started after 1976. He captured 4 World Series titles, the first, of course, with Detroit in 1984, and then the other 3 with Minnesota and Toronto. Morris was the winningest pitcher in baseball in the 1980s, very deserving of the honors he is receiving.
I'm still trying to put my arms around it and figure out what happened and why and, you know, the meaning of it all, but it's pretty special. And man, I'll tell you, the biggest difference is how people have embraced it, and that really kind of has surprised me. I'm so blessed to have so much love coming my way just because of an award.
And the fact that you're going in with Trammell, your buddy, what does that mean?
It means a lot. You know, I couldn't have scripted it any better. It truly is. Somebody told me last night, I wasn't even thinking in these terms, but Jack, you're going to be the second pitcher elected as a Tiger Hall of Famer. Hal Newhouser is the only other one. It's like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. So it's pretty incredible stuff.
Jack, of course, is a little bit different personality than Tram. A tough guy and all those things, but he's very humbled. I know this. Been around him enough to know that this has really, you know, shook his world up. He's so appreciative of everything that's happened to him, and I think with Tram, he just kind of rolls with it. He goes along. He loves working with the players. You know, he works in this organization as an instructor, travels around. He knows everybody in it, and you know, they're 2 special people to this organization, and you know, this is great for our fans.
Alan Trammell spent his entire 20-year Major League career wearing the Old English D, and during those 2 decades compiled some fantastic statistics: 1,003 RBIs, 185 homers, hitting 300 or better in 7 seasons. Tram also did it with his glove, partnering with Lou Whitaker as the longest-running double play combo in Major League history, 19 years. Like Morris, Trammell won a World Series MVP award when he batted .450 in the glorious '84 Fall Classic, extremely deserving of his honors.
It is so awesome and so overwhelming, but it is relief. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I know I've spoken in front of people and I've done it for many years, but it's not really what you're thinking about doing. It's not like, yeah, it's #1 on my list. But just to acknowledge the fans, my teammates, you know, I want to start there. I mean, to have as many as them coming back and acknowledging me, that means a lot to me, because again, you know, I meant it when I say that about the team. I know it's about me today and all that, and Jack 2 weeks ago, but you can't do it by yourself. And that's how I was raised, and I'm staying with my same tune. That's exactly how I was brought up. And I knew I could play. I mean, that's not an issue. I mean, I didn't need to go out, but you got to believe in yourself. But this isn't what I thought was going to happen at the end. I wanted to play. I wanted to be successful. And I guess it just tells you that, you know, if you do it long enough, that this is the kinds of things that you're rewarded with. But all I wanted to do was play, be successful, win a championship. I did that. You know, the rest is icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned.
With his stellar baseball play, his dedication to the sport, and his affable nature, Alan Trammell was and always will be a hit with his teammates, those who knew him best.
The day Tram and I met, you know, management had us out there turning double plays. I knew nothing about second base. They had coaches and teaching me how to play second base, and I mean, that's all Tram and I did. And we just took it from there, and for 19 years, plus the year in the minor leagues, we just had fun. That would be the legacy there. Two young kids having fun, playing the game they love for 19 years, being compared two of the best, you know, amongst many, shortstop, second baseman, and you know, as Tram mentioned, we did it right.
His commitment to Detroit and staying here his whole career, I think that just speaks volumes about how he felt about his time here and how important it was to be a Tiger.
It's hard to even describe, you know, something like this. You know, as I said when I spoke on Jack's behalf when I was here, that every time somebody comes through that stadium now, they're going to see that number 3 on there, and the first thing they're going to think about is Alan Trammell. You know, so it's a huge moment.
Tram and I started together, and we were drafted in the same draft, 1976, and started our careers together, and roomed together our first spring training in '77, and played together many, many years. And he's still a very close and dear friend. But these number of retirements that we just went through with Jack and Tram, they're very emotional because it brings back so many wonderful memories, and of course, back when we were young.
I didn't know he had that much power. Everything they showed on video, he had a home run. I know Game 4 was a great game, but he was just so solid every day in and out. Like I say, he came to the ballpark with the will to win every game.
We always felt we had a pretty darn good group of guys and a good team, and but it puts a little validation into the whole works, and with hopefully Lou will be the next one to do it too.
I don't think it's soon, but I think it could be inevitable. That's a good word to use, because now that Trammell's in and has established that entity of the second base shortstop combination as a Hall of Fame combination, I think Lou has to get in.
What might make it a little more special is if Lou could get in with you, right?
And we're hoping, you know, that day will come before we're too old to appreciate it, you know, and before he's too old. It's out of our control right now, but you never know what'll happen.
The love that Lou has not received, it bothers me. And whether or not, whatever you want to call it, I'm shocked. And hopefully, maybe this will help get a little momentum. And I meant what I said, that I hope that he's in the Hall of Fame soon, and that he also has his number retired here at Comerica Park.
We were a shortstop, second base combination, you know, and all the Hall of Famers, they say, how could this be that way, you know? But that's life sometimes. I did what I was supposed to do as a player, you know, play the game. The rest is, well, I guess that's where y'all come in sometimes. Control the game, huh? It's up to those, not me. I have no control, no power. To do it, I can go out there and paint my name out there, you know. Hey, maybe that's what I'll do tonight. You know, you see paint. Now, see, I shouldn't say this. I'll say if you see paint on the wall tonight beside Trammell, they come look for Lou. But Lou will be gone.
Both Morris and Trammell want their buddy Lou Whitaker enshrined in Cooperstown as well, and subsequently a number retirement ceremony here, and maybe that'll happen in the coming years. When we come back, we'll spotlight broadcast legend Bob Costas, who covered the '88 championship run of the Dodgers, and his role in that historic Gibby walk-off homer. Stay with us. Now it's time for your Tiger Tickets Tiger Trivia, brought to you by Xfinity. With the retirement of number 3 and 47, there are now 8 Tiger numbers on the left field wall at Comerica Park, but there are 9 names. Our question to you this month is why? We'll have the answer for you later in the show.
that's something that I did dream about, having my number retired. I didn't really think about the Hall of Fame, but I was hoping that at some point I did, because it seemed to be more of a common question for me over my career and after I was retired about the number. And I thought, you know what, that would be cool. That would be cool. I played my whole career here. To have that number 3 up there, that would mean a lot to me. So now, in a month's time, both of them have happened. So, you know, again, it's overwhelming, and I'm very, very proud.
Even an Iraq vet like me who's in really good shape needs good health care, especially when it's top quality and convenient. And it's not just for men. In fact, aren't you a vet, Patricia?
Yeah, I served in the Air Force.
When I come to the VA, the people understand veterans' needs. I get great care with good doctors and nurses and state-of-the-art facilities. Because hey, I was there and I earned it. And if you deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan, including with the Guard or Reserves, you did too. Here's another thing. I'm within 5 years of my time over there, so there's no copay for any service-related condition. That makes a difference to me. So why not come in today? When you check in, you'll get a full medical exam, first thing. Free for vets at the VA. Thanks, Doc. So check us out and see you here.
Think of legendary baseball play-by-play announcers, you have to think of Ernie Harwell, right? And certainly Vin Scully, Jack Buck, maybe Mel Allen, and now Bob Costas, the legendary broadcaster who gets enshrinement into baseball's Hall of Fame. Bob Costas, the 42nd winner of the Ford Frick Award, who has passionately and poignantly called games and narrated baseball experience for 4 decades, learned his trade at local stations while at Syracuse University. Costas graduated in 1974 after handling regional NBA and NFL telecasts for CBS in the late 70s. Costas moved to NBC in 1980. In 1982, Costas was paired with Sal Bando on the backup broadcast of NBC's Major League Baseball Game of the Week package. And then he teamed up with 2009 Frick Award winner Tony Kubek in the same role from 1983 to 89. Along the way, Costas handled play-by-play of the American League Championship Series in 1983, 85, 87, and 89, along with pregame duties at the All-Star Game those same years, as well as pregame assignments at the World Series in 1982, 84, 86, and 88. In 2009, Costas, a 28-time Emmy Award winner, returned to baseball when he joined the new MLB network, where he has called games and served as a documentary host for 9 seasons.
My first trip to the Hall of Fame came on the summer day in 1974 when Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford entered the Hall. Since then, I've happily returned many times, but this one feels a bit different. I stand here as thrilled and excited as a kid attending his first big league game, but now I bring with me a lifetime of baseball memories. Those memories, those moments, and the people connected to them are very much in my thoughts today. My journey to Cooperstown began behind the wheel of a 1962 Ford Galaxy. I'd grab my dad's keys, slip behind the wheel, and turn the ignition key to the right. Not far enough to rev the engine, but just enough to light up the dashboard and the radio. And then, from in front of a suburban house on Long Island, I'd travel from city to city, ballpark to ballpark, calibrating that dial like a safecracker until, through the crackle and static, I picked up the irrepressible Bob Prince on KDKA in Pittsburgh, the warm and welcoming baritone of Chuck Thompson on WBAL in Baltimore, and the pleasing pace and phrasings of Ernie Harwell on WJR in Detroit. who somehow always seemed to know that when a foul ball drifted into the stands, the souvenir would be taken home by a lad from Lansing or a kid from Kalamazoo. I'm in the corner of the Dodger dugout, waiting to jump out on the field and conduct some kind of interview with somebody, no matter how the game turns out. Meanwhile, back in the Dodger clubhouse, Gibson is on the trainer's table in his skivvies, and he hears Vin Scully say, "Well, Kirk Gibson won't play tonight." And Gibson, by his own testimony, pounded the table and said, "My ass." He picked himself up, he pulled on his uniform, and he walked down to the batting cage between the dugout and the clubhouse. And from my perch in the corner of the dugout, I could hear the sound of a bat meeting a ball. And so I walked down to investigate. And there was Kirk Gibson. And with every swing, it was thwack, and a ball boy would place another ball on a tee. Thwack, This went on for a while. I contacted Mike Weissman in the truck, and I said, "Gibson's taking swings. He might be able to pinch hit." He passed that information on to Vin and Joe, and Harry Coyle panned the dugout. And Vin knew that there was the possibility. Who knew how it would pay off? But there was that possibility. Tommy Lasorda never let on. He had Dave Anderson in the on-deck circle while Mike Davis stood at the plate with 2 out and nobody on. And Dennis Eckersley, Hall of Famer, virtually untouchable, the game's best relief pitcher, needed 1 more out to retire the side and end the game. On a 3-2 pitch, he missed and Davis walked. And only then did Kirk Gibson emerge from the dugout, and Vinny said, "And look who's coming up." And then there ensued, so that the drama and anticipation could build, luckily for all of us, a long at-bat. Gibson didn't hit the first pitch. The count went to 3-2. There were foul balls, one of which was a little dribbler up the first base line, and you could see Gibson limping. You thought, well, if he hit the ball off the right field wall, they'd probably throw him out at first base. The tension built and built, and then you know what happened. Somehow, some way, just with his arms, hardly striding, he hit the ball out of the ballpark. Vinny's call was, of course, perfect, with the perfect punctuation. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
As the Tigers look to bolster their farm system, Detroit personnel have been scouring the international ranks to bring the best possible talent to the Motor City. The Tigers have signed 3 teenagers from the Dominican Republic. The highest profile catch is shortstop Andinso Reyes. He's 6 foot, 195 pounds, a right-handed batter depicted as mature for his age with raw power to hit the home run. He's got an average arm and can also play third base. Reyes ranked number 19 on MLB.com's top international prospects. Outfielder Jose de la Cruz. He's a 16-year-old who stands 6 foot and weighs 195. De la Cruz is said to have some of the best tools in his class with a strong build and is supposed to be very athletic. Angel Cruz, 6'1", 165 pounds, and shortstop Guerrero Estevez, 6 foot 180, are the other prospects signed to contracts. Coming up, we take a stroll through historic Cooperstown, and we'll have the answer to this month's trivia question when we return on Your Tiger Ticket. But before the break, here's a look at some special promotions coming up at the ballpark.
retired yet?
No.
You good?
Now the answer to your Tiger tickets, Tiger Trivia, brought to you by Xfinity. With the retirement of numbers 3 and 47, there are now 8 Tiger numbers on the left field wall at Comerica Park, but there are 9 names. Our question to you this month is why? The answer? Ty Cobb is the lone name on Comerica Park's left field wall that has no number. Cobb was one of the best players in baseball history and one of the original 5 elected members of the Hall of Fame class of 1936. He also played his entire career before teams wore numbers on their backs, so subsequently there is no number to retire for him. The other number, number 42, belongs to Jackie Robinson, who of course broke the color barrier in baseball in 1947. Now let's send it back to Nick Wisniewski for an additional tour of the historic Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown.
Cooperstown, New York. Narrow streets, classic architecture, and well-maintained lawns. This could be any small town in the USA, except for that small museum up the road and that one weekend a year where it's descended upon by baseball fanatics.
Opening its doors for the first time on June 12, 1939, the Hall of Fame has stood as the definitive repository of the game's treasures and as a symbol of the most profound individual honor bestowed on an athlete. It is every fan's field of dreams, with its stories, legends, and magic shared from generation to generation.
Baseball, it's such a traditional sport. I love baseball growing up. I just want to share that joy with my kids. We joined the Tiger Kids Club when they were young, took them to Tiger Stadium, took them to Comerica Park. Just baseball, it's a universal game.
Well, it's my 27th year coming. It's different every year. You're on the dais listening to the different speeches. Most guys break down when they talk about their mom. So it's a interesting situation to be on the dais. This year, I think there's 60 Hall of Famers come back. So that's been, I think, one of the largest numbers. It's a lot of fun to see guys that you played with or against. Just to fraternize, stories get better, and just to be with a lot of guys that did something that you loved to play, and that was baseball.
First time I've been here, came with my brother who's come for 10 years, you know, seen all the souvenir shops. The hall itself is just amazing, just to walk through there and see all those plaques all the way back, you know, for all the years and stuff. It's just quite an amazing experience. This town is just blown apart. I mean, there's just tons and tons of people here and stuff, so it's just great.
I love baseball back when I was with WCW after we left the WWE, which we're back with WWE again. But we talked about baseball. We talked about how they grew up watching wrestling too, because on TBS, Ted Turner Station back in the day, it was kind of like a match made in heaven, baseball and wrestling.
And so, you know, just tell me, I mean, have you been into the hall before?
You know, I haven't had a chance to go see it because hopefully WWE is going to have their own Hall of Fame coming up. So hopefully it might be in Orlando, Florida, which will be closer to me. I have a beach bar in Daytona Beach called Jimmy Hart's Hall of Fame Bar and Tiki Deck, and I've got all kind of memorabilia in there too. So hopefully I'll have some baseball memorabilia when I get back home.
And you're in the WWE Hall of Fame, right?
Oh yeah, 2005 we went in, so we sure did.
And tell me who went in with you that year?
Oh my gosh, I went in with Nikolai Volkov, the Iron Sheik, Hulk Hogan, myself, Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, and Cowboy Bob Horton.
And that's the murderer's row for WWE, absolutely.
It's unbelievable!
The Doubleday Baseball, the thing of legends and mythology. It's believed that this was found here in Cooperstown, and that's one of the things that actually led to the museum being founded here in this small town in New York.
Abner Doubleday, a U.S. military officer in the Civil War, is popularly credited with inventing the game of baseball, but that is untrue. Regardless, Cooperstown is an amazing place and certainly a mecca for any baseball fan. Some final thoughts coming up after this.
Yeah. Noah! I'm up.
Your arm tired yet?
No.
You good?
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
For so long, 34 years, no Tiger from that 1984 championship team made the Hall of Fame, but not the case anymore, as Alan Trammell and Jack Morris get the honors they so richly deserve. For me personally, I was fortunate to cover that 84 title run, and I'm so very happy to see these guys get honored. We will be celebrating again on our next show, the 50-year anniversary party of the 1968 championship Tigers team. Hope you can join us then. Thank you for joining us today on Your Tiger Ticket. I'm Jim Berk. So long for now.